When we're 100 nautical miles out at sea in our boats, or in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean, or wherever you might go on your powerboat or your sailboat or any other boat, the last thing that we want is any power problems. We don't want power fluctuations. We can't go and plug into a GPO or a power point or our shore power systems. We can't recharge our batteries unless we've got solar systems and very reliable generators and gensets and all of those sorts of things. But we still need good, clean, reliable power. When I talk about clean power, I'm talking about power that doesn't have any fluctuations, any DC fluctuations or AC fluctuations or problems with the power system itself. We don't want any electromagnetic induction, problems that can cause noise being generated onto data cables, any RF problems that can cause major problems with any of our radio systems or our radar systems. We don't want any of those problems, nothing. We just want clean power. We want good, reliable systems. So I'm going to go through what I'm doing on my boat to make sure that my boat is safe and reliable, and all of the power on board is going to be super reliable for my start batteries and my house batteries and everything else that's on board. We're going to have a look at our electronics, our power systems, everything else, everything that sets us up to be safe on the water. Our bilge pumps, our anchor systems, our electronics and our navigational aids, all super reliable. They need to work, and they need to work properly. We need to know the difference between critical circuits and non-critical circuits. The circuits that are absolutely critical for our navigation, for pumping water out of the boat. So that's what we're going to start talking about. We're going to have a very, very close look at that, how I'm doing my systems. Now guys, my name's Rob. I've got more than 40 years experience in the electronics and cabling industries here in Australia. I own a number of different companies, fire security, electrical company, and now we're getting right into the marine side of things. Come along for these segments, the electrical segments, and we're going to talk about all of those different things. What I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, how my electricians are going to set up my boat, my Victron systems and everything else, how we're going to make sure that when I go out there in that boat and do, if I'm 100 nautical miles out, whatever, if I'm heading to Airlick Beach, if I'm going up to Cairns or one of the remote islands, that I know that when I get there, I'm going to be able to turn the TV on, crank up the induction cooker and something, have a feed inside, air conditioners. We can have air conditioners in the boat, and there are no gensets. The boat's not big enough to stick a genset in there, so I've got to rely on the batteries. My house battery's got to be super reliable. So that's what this is all about. So what we don't want, the things that we don't want any short circuits. We don't want any fluctuations in power. We don't want any electromagnetic induction. We don't want any RF signals that can cause problems with our data cables. We want to avoid that. The way that we avoid that, there are a number of things that we can do. We can use cable management systems. We can use segregation, separating the cables, keeping a safe distance between AC cables, DC cables, RF cables. Our electronic systems are so fast these days. Any sort of noise introduced into that can cause problems. Problems that might cause intermittent faults, constant faults, software issues, anything like that, so we want to avoid it. We do that by segregation, basically segregating those cables, keeping them apart from each other, or having shielded cables and different types of systems. We'll go into that a little bit more in other videos, but for this one, we're just doing a bit of an overview, have a look at it, talk about the systems, the things that are important to us, and how we are going to try and maintain our electrical circuits. Maintenance is a very important thing as well. Going along to our batteries and testing our batteries. So this is a battery tester. I can connect this up to my batteries, different types of batteries, gel settled batteries, lead acid batteries, lithium iron phosphate batteries, and it'll give me an indication of what that battery's like. On my Victron system, that's going to give me most of the information I'm ever going to need for the lithium iron phosphate, but for my start batteries, I'll definitely have a maintenance program to test those and to make sure that they're never going to fail. So, and if they get close to a certain percentage, then I'll just throw them out, replace them, get new ones, because I don't want any problems. I have 2 start batteries, 1 house battery. We can measure our DC voltage. It's got a fluke multimeter here. We're going to use that from time to time. We've got a clamp meter here to measure our currents. That's all I ever use these for, is to measure current. It's just easier than putting a multimeter in series. Long story, but just clamp it around the cable. I've got a video of me doing that. You just clamp it around the cable to measure your AC and DC currents. Righto, so with all of that said and done, what we're going to do is we're going to break this up into a number of different videos, but in the remainder of this video, what I want to talk about is the segregation. So I talked about that earlier. We were trying to segregate to make sure that we don't have any electromagnetic induction created by electromagnetic fields coming from different cables. So we need to separate our DC, our AC and our data cables from each other. So typically here in Australia, our rules are governed by AS 3000 and some communication standards and AMSA requirements, but the rule of thumb is anything that's running parallel to each other, we need to segregate or maintain a distance between each of those cables of 50 millimeters, a minimum of 50 millimeters. So our DC cables, if we bundle them up, they're going to be 50 millimeters away from our AC cables, and then we're going to have those 50 millimeters away from our data cables. So they're all separated. No chance of electromagnetic induction between each of those. The other option that we've got is mechanical protection. So we've talked about conduits before in another video. I'll show you up here where that video is, and basically, or what that video is, and basically what it does is it creates a mechanical barrier between each bunch of those cables and prevents electromagnetic induction from cutting through into the conduits themselves. You can have a metal barrier as well as if you want. On the smaller boats, probably not something that's going to work too great, but this is what I've installed through my boat. You might have seen this before. This is trunking. Some people call it trunking or slotted duct. So it's a ducting system, has a cap over the top of that. Very, very easy to use. Just break these little segments out as you need to bring cables in or out or whatever. Very, very useful. Great way of doing it. Very, very convenient sort of a system to use. So slotted duct or trunking, whatever you want to call it. A lot of guys in the trades just call them different things as well. Then we've got our rigid conduits. So these come in, typically we buy them in 4 meter lengths and we buy them in a bundle. So what we mean by a bundle is we can go and buy these conduits in different sizes, and they'll normally come in a bundle of about 10 sticks. They come in everything from 16 millimeters, 20 millimeters, 25 millimeters, 50, 80, 100, upwards from there. In my boat I used multiple 50 millimeter conduits, and that's worked quite well for me. Just be mindful of the size of the ends here. Obviously, if you've got a wiring harness or something and you've got to get that through there, then you need to take that into consideration when you're selecting the size of the conduit that you're going to use. And then our corrugated conduit. So our corrugated conduit again provides our segregation, and it's great for getting around corners and so on. Another video again on how all the different parts of conduit systems, the rigid conduit, the corrugated conduit, the inspection tees, the elbows, the junction boxes is what I've gone through in those. And I've tried to explain it all anyway in the best way that I know how to. So the other thing that these do as well, guys, these conduits provide mechanical protection for our cables. So what we mean by that is, let's say you've got something floating around in the boat, you've got your conduits and your electrical systems in the bilge or whatever, and you've got things that are just bouncing around. What you don't want is them, or the cables being knocked or damaged by any of that. Any of the insulation has to be protected. The insulation on our conductors needs to be protected to prevent any problems that could occur from that, like short circuits or any of the faults that we've been talking about in the past. So mechanical protection. So we've got different types of cable management systems, and that's what we're sort of talking about here. Part of a full cable management system. So our segregation, very, very important. Our mechanical protection, just as important, and lots of other things, segregation and so on. Look, mine's a bit blank right now, but there you go. Oh look, I'm gonna probably call it here and say, look, I've probably waffled on for about 10 minutes, and I think that's probably enough for this particular video. It gets across what I need to get across at this point in time. There's going to be plenty more coming up. What I want to do is go through those electrical systems very, very well. I am actually going to set up another channel as well that's going to be dedicated to electrical DIY stuff. We are setting up a new company next year, which is our electrical side of some existing companies that we've already got, and I'm going to try and basically let's say not so much market, but I want to be able to provide to the Australian boating community some of the things that I had a lot of trouble trying to get. Tinned copper AC and DC cables. I absolutely struggled. I don't know why. Some of the things that you might find hard to get that I find easy to get are, you know, some of the crimps. I don't know why that is. Again, I think maybe it's because our standards are different and they're not as critical as some of the ones that you'll find in the United States as a classic example. So we, I'm not going to say lax, but our standards are nowhere near as stringent, I guess. Stringent or let's just use that word anyway, all right? I can't think of anything right now. So we're not as strict. There we go. Look, like I said before, I'm going to go through a lot of this sort of stuff. If you right into it, then please like and subscribe. A lot more of this, a lot more of the fiberglassing work and some fishing when we finally get the big boat on the water and a couple of the other boats that we've got going on, guys. Once again, thanks guys, and please like and subscribe if you're getting anything out of this content, and it'll make sure that I can continue to provide this information. Good on you guys, thank you.